Hello, captains, and welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, USS Endeavour, and we are aboard the Tier 4 British tech tree destroyer, the Acasta. Now, we are going to take a look at some ship stats and the commander, which is very familiar in the previous video. If you've seen it, then it's pretty much the exact same. But if not, we're going to look at a very special and unique skill that rewards those that have invested heavily into commanders. More importantly, it is the Smogathon perk with Turwit. So we'll go over that here in just a brief second, but I just want to say thank you yet again. 300 subscribers. I am very honored and blessed beyond words. Thank you so very much, captains, for investing in me. I want to keep on investing in you. I want to keep this train rolling, or this boat sailing, or this car driving. I don't know. I'm out of sayings, but you know what I mean. And thank you yet again for all of your support. On to the commander. We are using Turwit. He is a 16-4 maxed out commander. It's a full concealment build, as we have Bay and Swirsky as our inspirations. And in the second slot, we also have Look at Me Now, which further reduces it. But the Smogathon perk and the legendary is what we're going to be focusing on with this particular build. The Aiming Systems Mod 1 is the only mod that we're using in this, but here we go. The smoke generators on the consumables from which we have, if you notice that the smoke screen dispersion time is set at 43.2 seconds. The reload time is less than 30 seconds, meaning that your smoke will keep you concealed longer than when you actually get the next one back to use. Very, very helpful, and it's my get out of jail free card. Here's the new look at the specs, which I am kind of mixed about. But anyway, the survivability is at 11,200, so it's 1,200 more than the Wakeful, which is okay. It's basically a Wakeful, but it's just a little bit better in almost every category. And so a little bit better HP. The artillery, you have the same amount of guns, the same caliber, the same 120s. But they reload in 3 seconds faster, so 5 seconds stock, and they turn relatively well with a 1% less fire chance. It's at 8%, whereas the Wakeful was at 9%. Not quite sure why that is. Maybe it's just a balancing factor, but that's the difference between the Wakeful and the Acasta when you're looking at her guns. Now, on to the torpedoes, in which we have 8 of them now, as opposed to the 6 that you had with the Wakeful. We have 4 on either side, and as you can see, the range is pretty much the same, 6 kilometers, and I believe you get 1 knot better speed than the Wakeful had at 62. So there hasn't been much change, except you do get 1 extra on either side. The AA defense still sucks. Not really much to talk about. It's not good. So if there's one weak point on this ship, it's that. It's very susceptible to carriers pestering it. On to the maneuverability, which is still a very strong suit of this line. Again, it can accelerate through turns. Its max speed is 36 knots. Does not have an engine speed boost, so that's about as most as you can get out of her. 540 meter turning circle radius is outstanding. Sub 3 second rudder shift time is great. Your concealment, we've fully spec'd into it. It's 100 rating, so it's going to be really good. 5 kilometers at this tier is pretty dang good, with a 2.1 while firing in smoke and a 2.9 detected by air. So it's all around. The concealment on this is pretty outstanding, with the Japanese the only line that can rival it. On to my individual standard ship stats. I am at a 64% win rate, and I have a little bit more games in it, because you just start doing that because you got to grind it a little bit more when you start going up the line. The armor is relatively the same, though. 10 millimeters all throughout the entire ship, just like the Wakeful. It's really similar in its design to the Wakeful. It has the exact same amount of guns, practically identical hull. It's just everything about it is a little bit better, as you can see. All right, Captain, so on to the first of 2 gameplays. This is a double feature, and one of the reasons why I decided to do 2 videos for the Acasta is because this particular video, as you can hear or not hear, I don't have any background audio. I don't know what happened, but I was only able to capture the video, and my audio, as far as any gun shooting, anything in the background, actually went pretty silent. So I'm going to do my best to try and entertain you with my amazing voice and just give you pointers here and there. The video is a good video. It's a great game, but for some reason I just wasn't able to capture the audio in this video. So onto the map itself and onto this gameplay itself. As we all know, we have the Smogathon legendary ability, and that's going to allow me to really use my smokes and get the most out of them. I've got 8 of them, so don't be afraid to use them. They will go quick, but, you know, at about just under 45 seconds a pop, these things will get you out of a tough spot rather quickly. So we're going to push right in here to A. This is the condensed version of this map trap. So as we're coming in here, I'm just paying attention to the bearing locator, which is at the top of the screen. That white little arc, that's showing me the closest enemy ship relative to my position. And right now it's pointing slightly off my left-hand side. So that rattle, whatever that stupid new ship is, that's at the Rattlehead. I'm sorry, goodness gracious, it's new. Give me a break. It's basically a Marblehead, which I guess is why its head is in the last part of the word. But it's part of the Megadeth collection. I've seen a lot of people actually have issues with finding that ship. If you go to the Microsoft Store, not the in-game store that you would normally find content for this game, but in the Microsoft Store. So you have to actually go online and look it up. This is what I did. And you type in Rattlehead and possibly something else. But it should be in there in the bundle. Anyway, enough of that. Here we go. We're almost getting the cap. Boom, we got it. And we're immediately popping our smoke because we have this other cruiser that has pushed way too far forward. But we are going to utilize his spotting to our advantage as we're going to be shooting at this Rattlehead. And at this point, I'm like, okay, well, if our cruiser can't take him out with that little bit amount of health, then we are truly screwed. But we focus our attention to the Kuma out here. He does take out the Rattlehead, and in turn, the Rattlehead takes out our cruiser. So now we're just going to focus this Kuma and watch the Citadels just kind of pile up, showing that the AP on these British destroyers is not something to be trifled with. We can definitely pin him at this range, and because he's flat broadside and up against the edge of the map, he has no recourse or way to maneuver or turn. And cool people don't look at explosions. And there he goes with 9 Citadels to our name, and that Kuma is gone. So now that we have this cap, my next point of attack is to basically look at the map, and as you can see, the 2 destroyers that are on the enemy team and the only 2 that are in the game, as we lose our destroyer. So now it's just me as the destroyer, the lone destroyer on blue team. Now I got to figure out how to take on these destroyers. And that's what I'm going to do. So normally I would stay in this cap and try to defend it, but the enemy Acasta is challenging our Bravo cap. So we are going to move in there and meet him. And unless he has the exact same build as me, which I seriously doubt, we're going to be able to have a little bit of an advantage against him. However, these shells are a little floaty at range, and because the Acasta is relatively quick, we're missing a couple of these shots from range. Of course, it doesn't help that he beaches. And now that he sees that we're shooting at him, he turns his attention on us, and he's going to start opening up towards us, but we are coming around this island. As we turn, we're accelerating. I get a fire right there at the end. And this smoke screen, as you can see the bearing indicator, I decided to throw torps towards that smoke screen because smoke screens are torpedo magnets, as we talked about in the last video. So the range on these is only 6 kilometers, and I don't think I had the ability to get there. And as you can see, that cap is starting to be flipped, so the destroyer was no longer in that smoke screen and ended up moving into that cap to try and take it. So now both destroyers are in basically both caps. However, the Acasta did just briefly get off of Bravo. What ends up happening right here is the Acasta was going to come out to meet us on the right side of this island. We're kind of playing Ring Around the Rosie here. So every time I think I'm going to spot him, he's pushing around the island, and so we're kind of going in circles. So now at this point, I'm like, well, I know that he's really, really close, but we haven't spotted him yet. We're just training our guns on the edge just in case he decides to pop up. But unfortunately, he never does. At first, I thought he was going to actually go in towards Alpha from the backside. But he ends up going all the way around the island yet again. The exact same direction I just came from. So, but here we detect a ship, which is the Mutsuki, which is the other destroyer. He was just casually sitting right there. So we're going to go ahead and take a shot. The game lags a little bit right here. As you can see, we actually get the defend ribbons before the shells hit him. I think there's been an issue with some of the lag that's been going on in the game. But we are able to reset him. And in doing so, we're going to start focusing on him. He does end up going dark. And that's when the Acasta that was playing Ring Around the Rosie with us finally pops up. So he was able to see where we were at. So we pop our smoke to disengage, which we do. However, since we were the only thing spotting him, he goes dark. However, he pops his smoke anyway. So he has the same short duration smokes that we do. And if he's going to stay in that smoke screen, fine, I'm going to let him. I'll come back and meet him here in a second, but my focus needs to be this other destroyer that is right over here. As you can see, the Mutsuki threw his torps over at our smoke screen, but we had left it because you don't want to stay in there. And now we have the guns, and we have the reload, and we have the DPM to take him out, and he no longer has the torpedoes as a option to go up against us. And the Congo takes our kill, but I do appreciate teammates that help and support. I'm not going to get mad at kill stealing in that venture. I know I had him, but it's just good to see that teammates are there to support you. So bravo to our teammates for helping me take him out. And now that the Acasta is the only thing left, he has gone back into Bravo. I have him on bearing location. He does not have it on me, so he doesn't know my relative position, although he vaguely knows where I was because of that engagement with the Mutsuki. But we have him basically pinned as to where exactly he is. So we're going to beeline it right into Bravo and try to take him out. So this is going to be a win, but again, I'm sorry for the audio, a little bit of a screw up. The next game, the audio is working. So yay, I didn't screw up twice, but this ship is a lot of fun. I think it really starts to find its own in the tier 5. The tier 6 is really fun. I think the tier 6 is what really made this line super, super enjoyable. The Acasta, again, has those short duration smokes, so he's using that to disengage. He doesn't want to get super focused. I don't blame him. Everybody's shooting at him is the only thing left. And here I was hoping I was going to be able to catch him off guard because he's in the smoke screen. However, the bearing indicator is moving a little bit more to the left, so I think he's backing up. So we throw torpedoes on the backhand side, and since it jogged left again, we're just going to start single firing these torpedoes on the edge, kind of showing the difference between the two. You can shoot them widespread in 4. You can shoot them single as 4 as well. However, he ended up jogging back forward, and there he gets spotted, and he was able to dodge our torpedoes. But because we have a much better health pool than he does, it's all academic at this point, and down he goes for the win. So that's a look at the first game. We did relatively well, and in fact, this game, we ended up scoring higher XP-wise. We ended up with 2259 at the top of the leaderboard. However, in this next game, even though I get a slightly less XP, I felt like it was a better game. So let's take a look at that one. All right, captains, I hope you enjoyed that first game. Here is the second on Warriors Path, the condensed map version, because we're in the low tiers. And in the first game, we had a tier 3, tier 4 match in which I was top tier. In this game, we are bottom tier in a tier 4, tier 5 matchup where we still have 2 destroyers per side. We do have capture points. These are the type of games that, in my opinion, are the most enjoyable. And so we're going to be pushing over here and utilizing these islands a little bit to our advantage. But ultimately, I want to get into their cap. Need to be cognizant of where the other destroyers may be. So keeping a watchful eye out for that. And hopefully this ends up being a good team game, which, spoiler alert, it is. But this one is a lot closer. It's not a one-sided affair like the last game was. And just for perspective's sake, these 2 games that you're seeing were literally back-to-back games. I decided to load into the other one because I realized my audio was kind of screwed up in the first one, and I was like, I really need a game that they can actually hear what's going on in the background. So I feel like I owed it to you guys to bring you another one. And this one ends up being just as good. And in my opinion, I felt like this was the better game, even though technically XP-wise, I end up having slightly less. Still a good game. I still get top of the leaderboard. But anyway, enough of that. So what is my plan here? What is my goal? First things first, use the bearing locator to key in on where the closest enemy ship is. Utilize island cover as I can, but I need to be out here to spot for my team. And at this point, I'm thinking at any moment I'm going to get spotted, or I am going to spot a destroyer. So I got to be aware of that. That's why I'm kind of keeping my guns trained on this radio locator. I decided to throw torps out because why not? I figured that's the path and direction that they were going to come if they were going to come. So that's why I threw those out there. However, the Nuremberg is kind of behind the island, and he's spamming from behind there. And believe it or not, I'm able to get right into this cap pretty much unscathed and not detected, and that's pretty crazy. So I don't know where these destroyers are at this point. I am thinking that one is over in the far Bravo side. So I'm just kind of being aware of the fact that the other one could be over here at any moment. But for right now, I'm just kind of playing the waiting game. It was contested at one point, but it looks like the Nuremberg backed off and got off the cap. So if I can take this cap without having to fire a single shot, great. Now, the one thing I want to be careful of is, as you can see, that cruiser, I'm kind of in line with where that cruiser is, and they know where he is. So if any destroyer saw the cruiser, even though he can't see me, there's a good chance that he's going to throw torpedoes at that cruiser, meaning that it would also fall in my path. So realizing this, I decided to smoke him up and allow him to break line of sight, and then me push out and then provide a little bit of spotting for him. And there is the T-22 that has finally come out to play, and he's not changing direction at all. He's sailing in a straight line. He has no camouflage, so I'm wondering if this guy kind of knows what he's doing. So I'm going to throw torpedoes right on the line. At this point, I would expect him to make any type of changes, but he doesn't, and he takes that torpedo, and he's gone. So there I'm spotted again from the New York, which could absolutely put a hurting on me. So here I am. I'm going to be careful of shooting torpedoes around that dead T-22 and try to catch this New York off guard. There, the cap is being flipped again, which I can only assume is the Nuremberg, as we lose another ship. Now we're down a ship, but we were able to take their cap relatively quickly, so they have really no points generating for them, while we have the one cap on ours that we had from the beginning generating for us. Unfortunately, our torpedoes don't find their home in the New York, and this is where Smogathon really comes into its own. As you can see, I was about to run out of smoke, so I popped another one before it basically went out, extending my stay in my smoke a little bit longer to allow me to secure this kill and not be spotted. And then as that happens, the Nuremberg decides to come out and play against this other cruiser. And since he's broadside, I'm going to start shooting him with AP rounds. And last game, we were able to do some pretty good damage. However, at this range, and the Nuremberg's armor, I don't think I have the ability to pin him quite as well. And if you're going to notice here, even though maybe some of these kills weren't necessarily mine, or what I would call I hadn't earned some of these kills, you could see we just missed out on that kill. And count how many of those that we just missed out on, and you'll see how epic of a kill game we could have had. I'll just say that. I'm not, kill stealing, kill securing, whatever. You can make the argument either way. I don't really care, but a lot of these ships were kind of low whenever I would go up against them, and trying to take advantage of it, I wasn't able to, and you'll see that. So here, the Leglicinaire, which we featured last series, is actually pretty far out. He has some pretty good HE. So what we do is we end up stopping and slowing down, popping our smoke. We're dictating this engagement. He whiffs that shot, and now we go dark right there. And he is still lit because he shot his guns. He shoots where he thinks we're going, which he whiffs again. And here I'm just trying to take him out. He is so low. I just need to get like a fire or just a couple more hits with my HE. He is a pretty fast maneuverable ship, even at tier 5. And my guns are now starting to get to the max part of their range. And I'm just trying to get him, but my shells don't quite have the penetration, and they're just not hitting him, and somebody else cleans him up. So that's another one that I could have potentially taken out, but didn't. And so now we have 2 caps, we're up in ships, and we're contesting the Bravo cap, which I can only assume at this point is the enemy destroyer. But lo and behold, it's the cruiser that is in the cap. I did not know that at the time. I'm about to find that out. But as you can see, the bearing locator is way off my right-hand side. And that's where I believe the destroyer is. And there the cruiser gets spotted again. Again, he's on life support. He has no health. And I actually held my shots here because I wanted to give this battleship the opportunity to take him out. But unfortunately, he's getting whittled down. He got hit by torpedoes pretty bad, and he gets taken out. So now I open up against this Trento, and there we get some defends, or we get a defend, and I'm just like, we got to kill this guy. And I hit him right there, but they're all shatters, and then the ship behind us cleans them up. So there's a third ship that I thought I should have had, but end up not getting. The last 2 ships on their team do a really good job of chunking me a little bit. So now I kind of need to be aware of the fact that this game is really close. Even though there's a lot of time left on the clock, we have the overwhelming points lead because of the cap control that we've had. But because it's 2v3, at this point, I need to play for my life. So a little bit of a misplay here. I really should not be pushing into these ships, because if the Fubuki, which is the destroyer that's remaining, that's alive, if he decides to push me, he could outspot me, and this New Mexico, if he's got his guns trained over here, could absolutely wipe me out. Again, what did I say in the last video? Even the most experienced players in this game can make mistakes, and that was a little bit of a misplay on my part. However, I realized that, so I start to disengage, and I'm backing off, and so crisis averted. It didn't become an issue. What you're going to find out here is that the Fubuki, instead of staying in the smoke screen and wanting to come and face me head on, decides to go towards the Charlie cap, which I got to be honest, at this stage of the game is a mistake. The winning play here is to kill all of us. It's the only option you have. Even though there's a lot of time left, I need to be taken out. If you don't take me out, I can be a nuisance for the rest of the game. And because the Fubuki decides to basically leave and try to go someplace else, there is another ship out there that's close to the Charlie cap that I'm guessing he was going to try and take out whilst taking that cap. I think that the better play would have been to stick with the New Mexico and join forces to try and take us out. I was going to shoot here, however, I was afraid the Fubuki was going to spot me, and I didn't want to be seen at this point. So now that I haven't been spotted yet, and there you can see that the Charlie cap is now being flipped. I know where the destroyer is. I'm not worried about him at this point. So now I'm going to try and set up an ambush against this New Mexico. And he is very, very healthy, but he's sailing in a straight line, and he's not really changing directions. So I decide to utilize my single fire torpedoes, and I want to see how many of these I can land. So I put them all on the indicator. So as you can see, there are the torpedoes lemming training straight towards that New Mexico. And if he decides to slow down or turn out just a little bit, I probably miss all of these torpedoes. However, because he's just going to sail in a straight line distance, even though he knew I was around here, or maybe he forgot, I don't know, he is going to take 4 of these, and down he goes for the devastating strike. That's how it's done, and here we go. Now it's just the Fubuki left, and at this point the score is so overwhelming that he doesn't have time to kill all of us. So at this point I could just drop anchor and sip a glass of iced tea and just sit back with my feet kicked up. We've done our job. We got 2 of the caps. We actually took Charlie cap earlier. They ended up taking it back. Or they tried to, and they weren't successful. And then we came all the way over here, and then we secured Bravo cap. So I'd say we did our job whilst taking out a destroyer and helping our teammates as best we can. Here I'm pinging the map because that's where the bearing locator is, and then our Tennessee is like pinging it. No, he's right here. And I'm sitting here trying to tell him negative. You're wrong. I am the one with the bearing indicator. I know where he's at. So that's why I'm trying to tell this battleship that is closer than the Tennessee is that that's where he's at. But it's all a moot point anyway. The score is what it is, and we are about to win any second. So that's the game. Thank you so very much for playing. And let's take a look at the leaderboard. Again, I felt like I did better in this match, yet somehow I ended up with slightly less XP. Not much. It was 2200 games, just this one was in the lower 2200s, and the first game was like higher 2200s. Anyway, not important. The important thing is that we won. We did our job. We played it well. So that's both of the games featuring the Acasta, the Tier 4 British destroyer. We're going to be taking a look at the Icarus next. So stick around, captains. I'm really excited to continue bringing all sorts of more fun content. Fair winds and fair seas. Like, share, subscribe. Please tell me what you think below. I appreciate all of you. And I will see you guys in the next video. So this is the USS Endeavor signing off.